So I wasn't even thinking that, like country Bitcoin reserves. I was thinking more so Bitcoin US reserve and then no taxes on your Bitcoin. And then state reserves getting passed after the federal one got passed.
The amount of news that would require for Bitcoin to reach $500,000 to $1 million this cycle will be so pivotal that it will cause a trickle effect where other things will take place and it would blow past that $500,000, $1 million. Welcome back, everybody,
So another week.
of your favorite crypto podcast,
Sometimes crypto.
the Unscripted.
Crypto podcast. Hey yo.
Ayo.
It's been another week.
It's been another week. Fun activities going on around the world, behind closed doors, on open fields, publicly posted blockchains, and whatnot.
And whatnot. So where do you want to start? Where do you want to get into it first?
That's honestly a great question because there has been so much movement, so much activity that it's hard to tell what's the most significant part.
You know what? I think we should start off with a scumbag that was sent into prison last week.
Yeah.
Gonna be sharing a cell next to our good friend Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. SBF got a new cellmate of the same branch.
Alex
Mashinsky.
Alex Mashinsky?
Mashinsky?
Was sentenced to Mashinsky?
Mm-hmm.
What excuse us from our mispronunciation.
A felon. He
was
does
sentenced
not
to
get
12 years in prison.
Mm-hmm. This was on the other day. This is May 8th when he got sentenced.
Yeah, to 12 years. This is for the whole shenanigans that occurred with Celsius.
Yeah, he pled guilty to
similar to what happened with SBF, but yeah.
Yeah, he pled guilty to securities and commodities fraud.
Another fraudster.
Yeah, he's famously known for having the shirt that says, "Don't trust your bank," or "Banks are not your friend." And don't trust your bank. Don't trust your bank. And it was him that you shouldn't be trusting.
Which honestly kind of crazy that some of these large companies just do fraud in larger scales. That's really it.
Yep.
Well, they have the ability to commit fraud at larger scales, better said.
That is true. I mean, SBF, biggest money laundering Ponzi scheme ever seen.
Yeah. So he has a new cellmate. Hopefully they bunk up together.
For 12 years. So some people were saying that was not nearly enough time to be charging him with.
I agree. But I was going to say you can't give him the same or more than SBF because SBF was a bigger crime and got 24 years, 25 years.
Yeah, well, the thing is, some in this thread that I was reading, apparently with all the possible ways of taking time off of his sentence, it could be reduced all the way down to 8.
Yeah, but he said the same about SBF with all the time, everything you can do, you can probably get out a little earlier too. I'm not arguing that they should get more time. I'm just saying, and to balance it out, they can be given the same time, the same sentence.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Time in prison is that's a whole different debate because criminal justice reform is a very common topic. Prison, is it meant to punish someone or rehabilitate them into getting back into society? Quite honestly, personally, probably easier to rehabilitate someone who's committed a violent crime than a large-scale corporate crime.
Maybe
that's
I'm not arguing on this.
There's no scientific evidence behind that. That was just
There's no scientific evidence here for me to battle to give pushback.
That was just an offhand opinion comment.
Offhanded comment
statement. Yeah.
Well, but on that note that you mentioned that he's famous, I didn't know he was famously known for wearing the bank shirt. By the way, this was not planned.
Oh, what was
But
not planned?
this week I saw this come up. This transition. I saw this come up on my feed May 9th, but apparently it was like from April 30th. So Spain tightens cash controls. Withdrawals over 3,000 euros now require prior tax notification and 72 hours for 100K, for 100,000 plus euros, and 24 hours for smaller sums. Also, you could now face a 150,000 euro fine for not reporting or requesting the funds ahead of time.
That is crazy. You said Spain?
It said Spain tightened controls. But Spain is part of the European Union, so I know there is a rule in Europe in the European Union that they do have to. There's a limit on which not just reporting it, but they have to request advance, like let them know in advance that they were going to be withdrawing a certain amount over X. So this could be just that one European Union rule just being placed on. Spain is now in placing it.
That's
I feel like
actually
we've
insane.
talked about this before.
Yeah, freedom of your money is the most important thing that people probably don't think about often. Either because of just straight up privilege by being able to be banked so freely, or ignorance where like you just don't think about it.
Well, I don't think anyone thinks about it. I think we're just accustomed to the banks just working.
Yeah, but like some people, I mean, there are people who do think about it because like if we think about like back into like the Great Depression where the people had to run on banks, people pulled out money, they didn't have the money for their own stuff. Like that's a flavor of this like money transaction availability that technically supposedly belongs to you.
So not getting pushback. I think adding spice to it is you don't notice the tightness on funds or money or just like the restrictions in banking until a time of crisis.
That is also true. That is also true in terms of like the run on the banks. But that's why I said different flavor. In this particular case with the European Union or with Spain, they're straight up saying, "Oh, if you're moving more than 3,000 euros, we need paperwork for that." It's like, why do you need paperwork for my transaction of my money?
Yeah, just to take out 3,000 euros.
Yeah, like that's insane.
Like I went to the bank a couple months back now to withdraw like $5,000. Mind you, I have never withdrawn without my debit card. Pull up to the guy. Guy goes, "Oh, you need a deposit. You need a withdrawal slip." He goes, "They're over there. You just fill them out. Simple info, and you should be on your way." I'm like, cool. Just stand right there, and I'll help you out. Sign the withdrawal slip. Put what I wanted to do. Not even put. Like just the amount I wanted. Handing him the slip. He goes, "Awesome. Here's your money. You can leave now."
Simple.
Like, what's the like? I've seen videos of other countries where they go to withdraw funds and they're like, "Oh, why are you withdrawing it? What do you want to do with it?" And it's like, why do you care?
Well,
I can wipe my ass with it if I want to.
Well, you pulled out $5,000. If you were to have pulled out double that, you would have had questions.
Yeah, would I? Is it they question you for $10,000? Like if you're gonna withdraw 10,000?
If you're withdrawing more than $10,000, yeah, any transaction of $10,000 or more gets questioned.
Larger limits than people.
Yeah, but then also like then there's people who are like, oh, the vast majority of people don't have those, don't even meet those transaction limits as it is.
Yeah.
So It's all about it's a balance.
So I guess
from
like the
living in
limit,
society.
like it should be larger
But, like,
limits for sure. Then
Yeah, but like 3,000 euros, that seems wild to me.
yeah. Oh, that's what I was gonna go with it. Is that there are limits to it, as you pointed out, and I completely forgot. I thought it was just for like spending 10 grand. I didn't know. I
No,
didn't put in my head withdrawing 10 grand, but the rule
it's
applies the same way. It makes sense.
yeah, it's any transaction of $10,000
Not 10. Makes sense. Makes sense.
in the United States. Other countries
But
probably
yeah,
have different numbers.
in the U.S., other countries are different. So I
Yeah,
guess that was the
I'm not a
argument.
big
Also, I
fan
saw
of
in the comments was you're not a big fan of restrictions.
I don't
I
love.
think
I don't love them.
the people know this.
So the argument in the comments.
No, but I'll say was yeah. In the comments, they were saying that it doesn't like the 3K limit is like it's perfect. Most Europeans are not making enough to withdraw $3,000 in like throughout the year.
Yeah, in like a single pool.
Like in single, like it's very unlikely for a European to withdraw that to need to request that amount. But I do agree with you. Any restrictions
Well,
does hinder your freedoms to a degree.
Yeah, 100%. Because and then it's also like my issue is like if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. I'm sure they're gonna just limit your amount that you could withdraw, but then next thing you know, it's like, oh, they limit where you could spend it, when you could spend it. They're like, oh no, you see, oh, you withdrew, I don't know, let's say $1,000 last month or $3,000 last month. You're capped out. Like, okay, now you can't withdraw anymore. And it's a snowballing effect that ends up being like, oh, this money is we're going to tell you how to spend this money. And if someone's telling you how to spend the money, then that money is effectively not your money. Yeah,
not
exactly.
Yours.
Exactly.
100% not yours.
So that's super important for the individuals. This is like the masses. This is not protecting the wealthy individuals. This is protecting the everyday individuals by not having those restrictions.
Yeah. Also, the notice period also gets you, because I'm assuming for a 10 grand withdrawal from the bank, I don't think you need to give notice. I do. Will say you probably will have to answer questions like you said.
I guess on the topic of transacting and all these limits and restrictions, I would like to mention this update of MasterCard teaming up with MoonPay. Essentially, they're going to be launching a Stablecoins like card globally, which will do the opposite of limiting. It's enabling individuals to spend money, their own money that's on a blockchain with a credit card of sorts. Not a credit card, but a card.
Debit card.
And this is big because this will essentially enable about 150 million merchants to start accepting payments from stablecoins.
Nice.
Which is kind of crazy. That's a lot of people, a lot of money. And then I also wanted to tie in some news that Steak and Shake announced. And Steak and Shake announced earlier this year that all of their locations will be using exclusively beef tallow. Now, granted, I know this isn't crypto or blockchain related.
Now, also after Bobby Kennedy just wanted to make that a thing.
Yeah, correct. Granted, they were
just the first to do it.
They were using it in general, but not all of their stores weren't required necessarily to do it. But the vast majority of them were. They just made it like clean across the board. Okay, we're removing all seed oils, only beef tallow for frying the French fries. But they came out with a new update policy change where starting May 16th, they will be receiving and accepting Bitcoin as payments across all of their United States locations.
Nice.
Yeah, so I thought what was interesting about this was that they expect this to pretty much open up the market to 100 million customers to Bitcoin. Open up, like, making Bitcoin more accessible for 100 million people. Customers is the word that they used. But then I was like, dude, we only have like about 400 million in the United States. And I'm like damn sure a quarter of the United States population does not go to Steak and Shake.
They said how many?
100 million.
Well, is Steak and Shake exclusively in the U.S. or is it not in other parts of the world?
They're accepting Bitcoin payments specifically exclusively in the U.S.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, 100 million is quite a
So
big
then I'm
number.
assuming what that number is just like straight up transactions. It's like, 100 million clients per year across all their U.S. location.
Yeah.
Which that number would make sense. Like if I were to go to Steak and Shake, be paying in Bitcoin. I'm curious to see.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm curious to see if they're going to be doing Lightning.
No, you wouldn't.
If they're doing Lightning Network, hell yeah.
No, you
If they're
wouldn't.
doing Lightning, I just told you. If they're doing Lightning
I
Network,
am almost guaranteed there are
yes.
there are places now where you don't pay in Bitcoin just because you'd rather spend the fiat and buy the Bitcoin.
Not necessarily. I just don't see many places accepting Bitcoin. I have spent Bitcoin on things.
Where?
Usually peer-to-peer transactions. Notably, the first one was actually a ticket to the Bitcoin conference in 2021.
That's okay. I'll give you that one. There's also a pretty big discount when you do that too.
Yeah, but this was a peer-to-peer. I actually didn't pay the conference itself. I found someone who was selling a ticket.
So you probably got a discount.
I did get a discount, but not because I paid in Bitcoin. It was just because the guy's plans changed and he couldn't go to the conference anymore.
Oh, I meant him. I'm saying he probably paid in Bitcoin and got a discount.
He likely.
And it got the discount. Well, what I meant to say was, what I'm saying is the majority of people, for the most part, won't spend their Bitcoin if they have the cash to spend instead. That's what I'm saying.
The majority, I'd say you're right. The majority wouldn't. However, the people who are heavily involved in Bitcoin would.
The only reason I'm getting pushback, not even to you, to those people, and like speaking for them, and the reason they wouldn't is because I would, as much as they would want to transact in Bitcoin, I think they would try to avoid doing it with large scale corporations and do it more so and focus on peer-to-peer transacting.
That's a decent pushback. That's decent pushback.
That's my pushback.
That one I will not rebuttal.
I think if they saw a fruit stand with a one single man vendor and he goes, we also accept Bitcoin or crypto, they'll be more willing to pay for that over a big
Oh, they'll do it
corporation.
in a heartbeat. They'll do that in a heartbeat.
And they'll tip the dude in Bitcoin too. I'll give them that
Also,
one too.
But for the big corporation wise, like if it's one of those corporations that they go to anyways, and they're accepting Bitcoin, they might be more willing.
Not arguing that. I'm just saying the amount smaller than what I think, than what we may think.
I'm not saying it's a significant number, because as it is,
Also,
Bitcoiners
for the one time, like everyone going for the one time, it adds up.
True.
Like everyone will probably try to do it at least once. Like we'll buy Steak and Shake Shack one time with Bitcoin. That will add up.
I'm just kind of curious to see. I'd hope
How it works?
Yeah, I'd hope that they're using the Lightning Network, because if not, the transactions time is going to take forever and the cost is going to be high, and I'm curious as to how that would work. I'm assuming it's Lightning Network.
Safe bet is Lightning and not native Bitcoin.
Essentially.
But listen, before we ramble on too long, Let me share something. This is why I brought up the pushback of spending to corporations rather than that. Let me share my screen. This one shouldn't make you go crazy. So this is a chart that's been floating around the last couple of days. See it?
It's loaded. Yeah, I see it.
All right. So it basically just states that corporations have been the biggest purchasers in 2025 for just like Bitcoin over both individuals and ETFs.
That's crazy.
Tell me if you notice anything shocking about this.
Shocking. No. Saddening, depressing, and like, what the hell are you doing? Yes, because individuals are obviously selling their Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, a very clear thought is that they are selling, and I think Satoshi would be sad.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the way that this is looking right now.
Yeah. So you want to give your quick little thoughts on it?
Yeah. So essentially, like, why are you not doing the same thing that these big companies are doing? Why? Why are you handing this beautiful piece of scientific advancement and just giving it to them for cheap prices? They have all the money. They have all the fiat. These big corporations, they have all the fiat. Don't like make them pay as much as possible for the Bitcoin that you do have. Don't paper hands this. Like, what the hell's going on? I don't know. I feel like I'm on a broken record at this point with that statement.
Yeah. So I think, agreeing with you, people are paper handsing it, but at the same time, can't be too mad at those who got in early and are cashing out life-changing money if they didn't do it prior.
So now that I think about it,
we're hearing.
It says change in Bitcoin ownership in 2025, and then it's This is like a dollar. This isn't a dollar amount. This is a number. Is this how many Bitcoin?
So we'll read it here. Includes change in Bitcoin to be mined, BTC held smart contracts, and estimated Bitcoin loss.
Okay, I see. So I'm assuming that a good portion of that 247,000, approximately 5%, is lost Bitcoin, if not more.
The others, the individuals?
The individuals. Because others is probably smart contracts, other protocols using Bitcoin as backing for like issuing coins themselves. As well as like yeah, so I'm assuming some of those individuals just lost a couple Bitcoin, and I'm wondering, this is actual like Bitcoin, like not like individuals, not like saying 247,000 individuals, is saying 247,000 Bitcoin, right? 157,000 Bitcoin.
I assume it's something like that.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Bitcoin to be mined, which is something that I'm kind of curious about. Changes in Bitcoin to be mined. Like, how's that? I'm assuming for that case, business.
So it's. I was going to clarify. It's just, so it is Bitcoin in its of itself, and it's saying that the individuals have sold or transferred 274,000 Bitcoin more than they have bought during the year.
Okay.
Meaning the individuals are just negative in comparison to the rest.
I see.
Like we have transferred or / sold more than we've been buying this year. Versus these are actually just buying Bitcoin.
I see.
Or lost Bitcoin
I see.
So we can add that there.
Well, honestly, with all that's going on in Bitcoin world, I'm not surprised that companies are buying it up like there's no tomorrow. The governments are buying it up like there's no tomorrow. So last week we talked about the 2 states that created a Bitcoin reserve.
Yes.
Correct. Recently, we had 2 more states who did not pass reserves, but they did pass legislation that is more friendly for Bitcoin. Missouri and Oregon. So Missouri passed House Bill 954, and this pretty much makes Bitcoin exempt from state capital gains tax. But I think, William, you told me that that Missouri's House Bill 954 affects other capital gains.
So I was looking into it. Apparently it doesn't, but I heard it did on a Twitter Spaces.
So essentially, this House Bill 954 makes Bitcoin tax exempt, and this is obviously following a trend within the United States of more friendly legislation. Kind of the idea appears to be to attract as much crypto investments as possible through tax reform. And then we also have Oregon, who that passed SB 167. So House Bill versus Senate Bill. Senate Bill 167. I'm assuming Senate Bill. House Bill. I'm confident on HB. Whatever. So Senate Bill 167 officially recognizing Bitcoin as legal collateral for business transactions.
Okay.
So it's not like a tax thing, so to say, but it is a accounting thing. Meaning that if you want to put up Bitcoin as collateral for a loan, 1 full Bitcoin, you now have, depending on what the market is for Bitcoin in terms of US dollars, you now have 1 full Bitcoin as collateral.
Nice.
Very interesting.
So it makes lending easier. Well, at least allows you to collateralize your Bitcoin easier in the future, hopefully.
Yep. And then
which is a game changer.
And then we also have Arthur Hayes and Blockstream's CEO with some price predictions for Bitcoin.
2 million.
So Arthur Hayes recently said that Bitcoin will hit $150,000 by the end of May, $250,000 by the end of the year, and $1 million by the end of 2028.
2028?
And then we also have Blockstream CEO that said that there's a potential of Bitcoin reaching $500,000 to $1 million this cycle.
I don't agree with
that. That's a very, very bullish case. I don't think that's possible. There would have to be dramatic changes, a lot more bullish news than what we've seen so far, and I just don't see the momentum for that.
Not even bullish. The amount of money needed to come in to push that.
Of course, but like the news that would be like, U.S. Federal Reserve for Bitcoin, European Federal Reserve for Bitcoin, Australian, Japanese, like literally this is country level stuff. And at that level, it wouldn't be, I think it would actually be low.
So I was even thinking that, like multiple countries against like country Bitcoin reserves. I was thinking more so Bitcoin US reserve, and then no taxes on your Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah, that
And then state reserves getting passed after the federal one got
I understand
passed.
that. I guess my logic kind of just goes to the next step and says if the United States and the subsequent states within them are all reserving Bitcoin, there's going to be a bunch of other countries.
China's first. China will be the first
There'll
to
be a
start
bunch
it,
of other
to
countries
continue it.
to keep on. Is what I'm saying. Like the news that would.
I agree,
Okay.
but not the bigger, not your. I wouldn't say Europe. I wouldn't say like these like Europe in specific. I would think other like more like
across. I'm just
strategic. Like I'm gonna fight America,
So
or I can't let America win.
Okay. So what I think is the amount of news that would require for Bitcoin to reach $500,000 to $1 million this cycle would just be so pivotal that it will cause a like trickle effect where other things will take place and it would blow past that $500,000 $1 million if it were to be for this cycle. Granted, if it's for next cycle, like the news comes out way more slower, more paced out, more methodical, and $1 million Bitcoin for next cycle would be more feasible with a lot less like avalanching effects. Does that make sense?
I agree. I agree. I agree that for next cycle, that million is much more accessible versus where we are at the moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I just had Grok run some numbers to reach $500,000 per Bitcoin. The market cap of Bitcoin would have to go from where it is right now to 9.93 trillion.
That's a lot.
And then for it to reach $1 million per Bitcoin, it would have to reach 19.86 trillion. Did the camera hear those numbers? That's a stupid number. Stupid.
That I think actually opens up beautifully to the story that I have for Coinbase, particularly a commercial that they just released recently for the NBA playoffs. So if you've been watching the NBA playoffs, you might have seen this commercial. It's a Bitcoin only commercial. Coinbase obviously services a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, but this commercial has it's only mentioning Bitcoin. And it pretty much says, if Bitcoin was the size of a quarter and all 21 million of them were put together, it would fit into one shipping container. To fit the dollars that the Fed prints on average every day, you would need 72 shipping containers every day. Each year, you would need 26,280 containers for the amount of money that the Fed prints out every day.
Prince.
Which is a large amount. So compare one container to 26,200 containers in 1 year at the current rate. Mind you, there was like another part to the commercial towards the end that was like, this doesn't even begin to tell you how much money there is printed out, because they're like, if you print out how much money the Fed has printed, if you put all the money that the Fed has printed into containers, he's like, essentially it's something along the lines of there's not enough containers in the world.
So yeah, there's not enough space to hold it.
because the fiat, that's the issue with fiat money. It's not backed by anything. It's just controlled by the government. They keep it controlled to kind of like pay whatever they need to pay and fund the next war that they need to fund.
Sadly, that's the way they currently do it. Yes.
And opposed to Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was the size of a quarter, all 21 million of them fit into one shipping container. Forever and all of eternity, they will be that one shipping container.
Yes. But then don't forget that Bitcoin is divisible. Like you can have half
Correct.
of a quarter.
That's true. I suppose people do forget that.
But then again, you can only ever have one full shipping container filled.
Correct. No matter how many times you split it up,
It will always fit in
the
that
trillions,
and then to be
the
realistic,
hundreds of trillions of times that you could split Bitcoin up.
and then if you really want to get realistic, we don't really have a full 21 million Bitcoin either. The supply has shrank.
Yeah. Just because
there
we've
is
lost them.
just because of the lost Bitcoin.
And by lost, we mean like they've been sent to a wallet that does not have an owner. And the likelihood of someone finding the keys for that wallet is nilch.
Yeah, and also like the ones that are just lost.
Oh, like you mean like actually they lost the seed phrase.
They lost the seed phrase, and then that I don't know that in that number that is always given at 5 million or whatever is Satoshi's wallet included in that.
I don't
number?
think so. I don't think that numbers includes Satoshi.
Then if it isn't, you can also put that to another side and say will probably never be touched again either, and that's like 1 million Bitcoin, right? Or is it how much Bitcoin?
No, it's 500,000.
Half a million Bitcoin. It's a lot.
I don't
of
remember
Bitcoin
right now, but yeah, it's a significant amount.
So really, the supply is not really 21. It's minus 5 of that. Minus 5 million, give or take.
For now. But nonetheless, divisible. Divisible by, like, there's way more than enough Bitcoin to go around for everybody, essentially. There's enough for everyone to...
You just want to hold
one. One? Well, holding one is not feasible. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, the grand scheme of things, assuming it's globally adopted and assuming that everyone has a Bitcoin wallet. Granted, that's not going to be the case ever because population is right now about 8 billion, probably approaching 9 billion. And the vast majority of them are like kids and elderly. So kids, for the most part, do not own bank accounts or crypto wallets unless they're somewhat technically savvy. Then they likely have a crypto wallet, but probably not a bank account unless their parents set it up for them.
Also.
Yeah. So that last statement kind of brings me over to a statement that someone said, but then that takes me away from the whole Coinbase news. So just I'll leave I'll leave this for now. A kid can have a crypto wallet, but can only open up a bank account if an adult is with them. And I say that because this is a thought thing that I will be bringing up for the next story, just so we don't get away from the Coinbase stuff.
Okay.
And
he's preparing the future.
So essentially, Coinbase has more big news coming up, and a lot of people are excited about it.
Big news.
I feel like William's one of those people.
I hold Coinbase.
Man holds Coinbase. And what does that mean?
What's the news, Alex? Tell us the damn news.
Heard. So Coinbase is set to join the
Stop teasing.
S&P 500 on May 19th. Yeah, that's actually really big news. Essentially, they will be replacing Discover Financial Services. So like Discover, right? You know Discover.
Yeah, like the credit card.
Yeah, so Discover got purchased out by Capital One, and it's pretty much merging into the Capital One's structure. And a new spot.
So they'll be
exactly. So a new spot opened up on the S&P 500, and it looks like Coinbase is taking its spot.
Nice.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because just a few months ago, Coinbase was facing litigation by the SEC.
It was. But then those charges were dropped.
Yeah, they will fight you. They will fight you if you oppose what they have built. And then once they realize that they cannot beat you, they will let you join them. That's some like
Coinbase stock's
yeah.
gonna go
So
up.
Coinbase stock went up 25% on Tuesday, or not specifically on Tuesday, but on Tuesday I looked at it and it was like up 25%. In general, I forgot what time I was looking at, but essentially, there was these analysts from Bernstein, saying that Coin, the ticker symbol for Coinbase, could see around $9 billion in passive inflows from being linked to S&P 500 funds.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds about right.
kind of like SPY, I'm assuming, William. Is that correct? SPY is a S&P 500 fund.
It's a smaller version, but
So the S&P 500 is kind of like the bare bone like investment of institutional markets for long-term savings. Historically known to generate 7% returns on a 30-year 7% annual return on a 30-year scale. Granted, there are years that are abysmal and it loses a bunch of gains, and then there's other years that it shoots up like crazy. But averaging out 7% per year. So a lot of funds, ETFs, investment firms invest in the S&P 500, stocks in the S&P 500, as a way to just baseline income profits for their clients, saying, look, we're going to be buying these stocks. Historically, you're going to earn 7% on your money. Like, no worries. All you got to do, keep it in here for 30 years. And now that Coinbase is part of this S&P 500, they will be reaping the rewards of getting to where they're at. They essentially Coinbase got into the faucet.
yeah, pretty much.
That's essentially what just happened for Coinbase. And then also there's other like ETFs or funds that work on the S&P 500, but the S&P 500 is literally 500 different companies, so there's a variety of industries in there. Tech, hospitality, construction, raw materials, all this stuff. Some funds strictly focus on the tech side of the S&P 500 because tech can be a little bit more lucrative, higher risk, higher return. So it's not just people investing in all 500 companies. It's also going to be people investing in specific companies, specific industries within the S&P 500.
Yes, but also it's going to be in the bigger pile of the
Also
S&P
true.
500.
Correct. I'm not.
Meaning those who just buy the S&P 500, the entire thing, you'll be buying into
Coinbase.
what they're holding of Coinbase as well.
Do you have any other news
Also,
for Coinbase?
well, no, I was going to also say that Coinbase had who's ever currently holding S&P 500, that like the has to buy
Coinbase.
the Coinbase stock to add it into the S&P 500.
Correct.
So that's gonna be a lot of buying pressure,
Man, I think
for Coinbase individually.
I just recently deleted an image that shows all of the companies that are invested in Coinbase, or not Coinbase, in Bitcoin, or have exposure to crypto. And yeah, I deleted it. It's gone. So essentially, some people like Warren Buffett has made public statements in the saying Bitcoin is rat poison. Doesn't want anything to do with blockchain or crypto. It's all bullshit. It's all fake. Obviously, at some point, I did not go verbatim by what he said, but that's what he implies.
At some point.
Yet Berkshire Hathaway is indirectly invested in cryptocurrencies and blockchain by holding companies that hold blockchain assets.
Really? Who do they own that holds it?
I don't have the image with me. I don't remember.
Oh, but it showed that
Yeah.
that Berkshire holds companies that hold
Correct.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
So
Well, it's similar to like the whole Coinbase thing. Like everyone who hates crypto and didn't want anything a part of it, if they're buying the S&P, they're
yeah,
buying.
that's why I
they're
mentioned
buying.
it. That's why I mentioned it. It's like first they hate you,
It's sneaked its
first
way
they
in.
hate you, then they let you in.
Yeah. Next person we need to get in the S&P is MicroStrategy.
Micro, yeah. Strategy, micro strategy.
No, strategy, not micro.
I don't think I'm ever gonna learn that one.
I don't think so either. It's been a while now.
I think we're going on 3 or 4 weeks now. So
Yeah.
I did read somewhere, and I did not check. I could not. I just didn't have the time to check. But apparently, Coinbase received on their institutional account, the Coinbase institutional account, received from an unknown wallet, as in we don't know who's the owner of this, 22,726 Ethereum transaction. Single transaction with 22,726 Ethereum. Significant number. Big number.
That is a significant number.
From an unknown wallet, at least. And I mentioned that to kind of bring up another story of this
Okay, what's up?
London-based company called Abrax Capital Management. Abraxas Capital Management, not Abrax. Abraxas Capital Management has purchased roughly 211,030 Ethereum, roughly $477.6 million in the last week.
How much?
Dollars or ETH?
ETH.
211,030 Ethereum.
Jesus.
Yeah, almost $500 million worth of Ethereum.
Jesus.
So
Jesus.
recently, ETH has had the Pectra upgrade, and apparently that has some
Just
restored confidence in ETH slightly, a bit. And then also the ETH BTC trading pair. ETH is down nearly.
Has bounced.
Yeah, it has bounced, but it was down at one point 40% year to date. So that's not surprising that people are like taking the opportunity to buy some ETH at very low levels.
Yeah.
So
I interrupt this podcast with some breaking news that's been released today. So, Coinbase data leak confirmed. Beware of social engineering scams to do with Coinbase. Coinbase cyber criminals bribed and recruited a group of rogue overseas support agents to steal Coinbase customers' data to facilitate social engineering attack, and these insiders abuse their access to customer support system to steal account data and small subset of customers. We will reimburse customers who were tricked into sending funds to the attackers.
yeah. So I was actually reading some of that right before we got ready for this.
Yeah.
It looked like it was very small. It was less than 1% of monthly transacting users.
Yeah.
And the support, because it was a data breach. It wasn't a hack.
Also.
The customer support representatives for Coinbase that work overseas, in like a help desk, I'm assuming, of some sort, they got bribed, and leaked information. They're like, yeah, sure, you're gonna pay me, I don't know, $10,000 to give you all this information, which probably got paid less, if I'm being honest.
I was about to say, I mean, 10 grand's a lot for depending where they are.
And also for such little amount of data.
So this is what they got: name, address, phone, and email, mass social security, last four only, mass bank account numbers and bank identifications, government ID images, account data, and limited corporate data, like including documents, training material, and computer. What they didn't get: login credentials or 2FA codes, private keys, any ability to move, access customer funds, access to Coinbase Prime accounts, and access to Coinbase or Coinbase customer hot or cold wallets.
Yeah.
So for the most part, pretty controlled damages.
Yeah.
As of right now.
And those help desk customer support employees immediately got fired.
Obviously.
Just want to put that out there.
That's a fact. Should we talk about trying to trade deals before we wrap up?
If you want, but I do have that one last story about
well, I'm saying because that hasn't been talked about. But go for it. What's your last story?
So essentially, New York City Mayor Erik Adams. This mayor is focused on building long-term value for the city through crypto and blockchain. You said that he recently got on a podcast for Flagrant. I haven't watched this. I will probably be watching that at some point. But he is specifically like highlighting blockchain's potential for supporting underbanked communities. And this ties back to what I said earlier about how kids can open up a crypto wallet, but they cannot open up a bank account without a parent doing it with them or for them. There's many other examples of people who can get banked through blockchain technology, but not through traditional technology, traditional infrastructure, such as children who are under the age of 18. But there's also individuals who live miles away from the closest bank and storing their hard-earned cash to their bank account
under the mattress.
Yeah, exactly. To the bank is just probably impossible. Also, in the case of, let's say, abusive relationships where husband is taking care of all the money and refuses to allow the wife to get any type of funds, a bank account will help this individual to be able to store some funds without having the abuser be aware that they're holding money, growing wealth, and hopefully at one point, obviously, getting to safety.
And he meant to say crypto wallet, not a bank account.
If I said bank account, yeah, my bad. Crypto wallet. I meant like an account that stores funds, not. Yeah, it's not a bank account. It's a crypto wallet. Thank you for the correction. I did not realize I misspoke. But and then there's other places where individuals just don't have access to banking, and Erik Adams acknowledges the fact that Mayor Adams acknowledges the fact that blockchain fixes this. So he's obviously a pro crypto mayor, and he is running for re-election. He is running as an independent, which is slightly surprising, seeing how he is previously registered as a Democrat.
He was. Yeah.
He was a Democrat, and now he's running as an independent. And I wonder if it has anything to do with just his stance on blockchain and crypto, and if he's...
It's a few different things.
Because I've seen people who flipped from Democrat to Republican, people who flipped from Republican to Democrat, but usually when someone flips from one of the two major parties to a independent party or one of the smaller parties, it's usually because they have come to realize, and this is me ranting at this point, but they have come to realize that the two-party system and government politics as it is right now is kind of broken. Not kind of, extremely broken. And independents are kind of like, okay, let's actually try to fix this. But essentially, last month, Mayor Adams was up against 5 different federal charges, including wire fraud, bribery, and I don't remember the other ones. But these charges were dismissed by a U.S. district judge after the judge requested a submission, received a request that was submitted by judges from the department, from the Justice Department. Granted, this request came from the Justice Department, and this is under Trump's administration, that got Eric Adams' cases dropped.
Gotta help the homie out.
So, is he a homie?
Gotta help the
Because,
homie.
I mean, Trump is a registered Republican, and granted, he was a Democrat before, and he's a registered Republican.
I think Mayor Adams endorsed Trump.
Eric Adams endorsed Trump.
Like, I'm
That
pretty
might-
sure he
That
did.
might give some foresight as to why he also left the Democrat party. But nonetheless, so like, is it fishy that Trump is helping the homie out, or is it just Trump standing up against injustices that are commonly seen against pro crypto individuals, corporations, and alike? Because we have seen this issue come up, very common, very frequent. Well, Trump, for example, is part.
All right, ask me a
Yeah,
question.
essentially, it's more of a food for thought, I suppose, because we do see targeting for pro crypto organizations and individuals, such as Coinbase, as we mentioned earlier, actually being targeted by the SEC strictly because they are a crypto company, and it goes down the line.
Or they just didn't have a really good case to make after they tried to investigate.
Oh, well, no, the judge dropped the case. It wasn't the
The only
necessarily the lawyer,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they present the evidence to the judge, and the judge then decides if they can take this to a full case or not. And if the judge feels there isn't enough to like fully prosecute, or there just isn't enough evidence for what he's alleging to the scale they're alleging to, then they can't just drop the case and be like, "There's not enough meat on this bone here to continue forward." I'm saying that can also happen.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for today. You got a lot of content for China tariffs.
So I was gonna say, before we get into tariffs, we did have we had numbers come out today, and we had numbers come out last on this Tuesday that just passed. So we had core PPI that came below what was forecast, 0.2% versus 0.3 that was the forecast. And we had CPI month to month that was 0.2 instead of the forecast of 0.3, and CPI year to year, which came down a little lower, 2.3% versus 2.4%. We had that.
Yeah, that's good numbers.
So it came a little below than what was expected.
Which is good news.
And today, which is good news. And today we had core PPI month to month that came down. The forecast was 0.3. It came back negative 0.4. Core retail sales month to month, which is down to 0.1 versus what was forecast 0.3.
Not good.
Yeah. Then we had PPI, which I always forget what PPI is, came negative versus the forecast, which was 0.2. It was 0.0, which was negative 0.5. Which I'll have to confirm what PPI is. I know it's price per price something index.
Production price index, I believe.
And then retail, production price index? Yeah, that's negative. That's
I'm searching it up now just to confirm.
And then
retail, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right, I think it is production price.
Producer price
and retail
index, not production, but producer. Yeah.
So it means what it costs for them to produce it?
Yeah, it's the index that the producers cost, the cost of producers.
Okay, so apparently cost is down. This is good then, if we read it correctly. And retail sales month to month is up. It was forecast 0.0. It's up 0.1. The previous was 1.7%, which was way better. And lastly, unemployment rate came. It came as forecast, 229,000 unemployment.
As forecasted.
As forecast, yeah. So data is all over the place. We also had no rate from last meeting. Rate stayed the same. We will probably see in the next meeting no rate cut either. And then we had China agreed. China and the U.S. came to an agreement as well. They're dropping their tariffs from stupid numbers down to China's
130%.
145%. No, 145. Okay. Yeah, from 145% that China had on us, and then we had like 200%, some crazy number on them. That's being dropped. China will face a 30% tariff from us, and we are facing a 10% tariff from China. This is a agreement for until the next 90 days until they create a better structure.
Yeah.
Moving forward, or they renegotiate something.
A 200% tariff would make the product completely unsellable, essentially. Not like there's literally nothing that you could do to sell something 200% tariffed. It's very rare, very hard to find something that could take that hit and still sell and be feasible within the market.
It would have to be extremely cheap products.
Either an extremely cheap product or an extremely unique product, where there's only one place to get it from, and you got to do what you got to do because there's nowhere else to get it from.
Also,
and to add to the whole tariffs are now at 30%, and for China from us, and 10% from us to China. That does not include the already 25% tariff that Trump had placed on China in his first term, and that Biden also decided to keep. But so this 30% is on top of that 25%. Yeah,
it is. Is that confirmed? I'm asking.
Confirmed. I'm not. I know someone that's paying that tariff.
We'll talk about it off screen. I want to know.
All right. So, yeah, tariffs deal is good because 30% is workable, 200% is not, and hopefully the market takes this with good news.
Yeah.
On
I think that's all the time we got
On
today.
that note, thank you guys for joining. If you've made it this far, we appreciate it. And hopefully you've hit the like button already. And if you haven't, do that real quick.
And you subscribe and follow. I'm blurring my camera so you can to make sure
Subscribe,
you get the point.
follow, share. You know.
So Alex, he's
You
beautiful.
don't have to do that unless you think so. Then I'd appreciate it. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in to. I'm sorry. Did you cut off? Did I cut off? Thank you for tuning in.
So another week
Of your favorite crypto podcast,
sometimes crypto.
the Unscripted
Crypto podcast. Hey yo.
Ayo.